you.
You know, one thing that I really like about you is you're very honest, very straight, and you you say it the way it is. Now, tell me a little bit about like your way to this success where you are right now.
For me, I never come from a background of knowing how to create my own results. I was a nurse, and I suppose I just kind of had the good education and went along the normal laws that people kind of have, where they go to their work, they have their money, and they do things at the weekend. But I got to a point in my life where I realized there has got to be more, and I've seen other people achieving more. So when I really started to study how successful people act, think, and create their results, I started to emulate that. And in essence, for me, it was all about the mind, as we know, and really starting to first make a decision that I wanted more. That was really the biggest key. And a decision to really realize that my way was not working and that there had to be another way. So as soon as I made that absolute committed decision, things started to move quite quickly, in the sense of I was in a financial hellhole, shall we say, and I really had nothing to my name. I had £4.20, which is maybe $6, and but it didn't really bother me because I knew I could only go upwards, and that was a huge asset, I believe, to my success, in that I was able to burn the ships. It couldn't have sunk any lower. So
But it's easy to say that afterward,
mm-hmm.
right? When
Yeah.
you've been experiencing it, you've
Mm-hmm.
been like going through all of this, and now you're having a pretty nice life.
Yeah.
But when you were there, like, what was the point that you say, like, shit, that doesn't work?
The point for me came when I was in a pet shop and I realized that I couldn't afford the dog food for my two pets. And I was very frustrated because I was in a very well paid job. Now, I was earning £30,000 a year, but it didn't matter how much I improved in my education, I was still broke at the end of every month. So for me, I knew my way was not working. Now, I get asked these questions all the time, Mark, and I can't actually remember the person that I am or I was, and I can't really even remember, what was that like to be in that situation, because it is so far away. It's like when
You're not the same person
no,
anymore.
not the same person, and it's like when people say, my goal's so big and it's so far away and I can't imagine it. Well, infinity goes that way and that way, so for me it's very hard to even think back. But I honestly think that I was in a bit of a state of I just have to create my results and I have to move forward. So I started to study the material. I started to understand the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, and when I really got to the understanding that 96 to 98% of all our behaviors, decisions, actions come from this subconscious programming, it was starting to make sense. And I realized that I was running on a program that was not fulfilling me. It was not financial, it's not giving me any good money. My financial thermostat was low. My self-image was horrific. And that's where I really had to start. And from being a nurse, I kind of realized that I wasn't really serving to the best of my ability. And you can't give what you haven't got. So the more that I started to just study me and really start to get into that programming and tear out this virus code and recreate it, then my results started to rapidly change.
Right, because there's so many people that are in this situation that you were, and they trying to figure it out. They're just like, okay, what do I need to do to get out of that shit? And they just can't.
Yeah.
So, like, what would you say to someone which is in this situation right now? Because would you consider yourself a millennial?
A millionaire?
Yeah, a millennial.
Oh, a millennium.
Millennials.
I don't know. I think I might be past that bracket. I'm 31.
No, you're in it.
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
you're in it. Yeah. But yeah, there's so many millennials right now which they try to get out of that.
Yeah.
They had this thought that, I want to serve, I want to do something meaningful, but they're just stuck. So how do you get out of that place of being stuck? Because like success, I don't think you can measure success with the amount of money you have. I think that's a misconception, but
Yep.
that's a misconception that most people believe still in.
Yeah. So there's so many elements to that. I mean, firstly, you can't try. You either do it or you don't. And the first thing is you're either aware of how to change or you're not aware. And that's the absolute critical point. A lot of people, as you rightly said, are hustling, they're banging their head off a wall, they're frustrated, but you cannot get to a place of abundance, a place of fulfillment, a place of love by staying in a place of annoyance and frustrated and fed up that the results aren't there.
Yeah, but there's no way out. So how do I get out of there?
Well, you got to decide what you want first.
And you think that this is the key. It start with from the moment you know what you want, you can get out of it.
You first got to decide what it is that you want. Now, some people will know what they want, some people will not know what they want. For the people that don't know, it's usually because the programming is that negative that they have not become aware yet or discovered what they want. So you could come at this at many different angles, but I suppose the key to this is you've got to realize that it's not by action, it's not by doing in the first instance. You've got to first really start to look at how you're thinking.
Wait. Because like you said something that I'm pretty sure everybody's looking at it right now, is listening to this and they're just like, what do you mean? Like it's not by the doing. Because that is, I know exactly what you mean, but I just want for someone that's listening to this right now that understand that by changing your thinking, you can change your results.
Yep, 100%. So if you think of it like this, imagine there are two people in a sales situation and they're trying to sell a product. So a lot of millennials are network marketers, really good example. And they know there's people at the top selling really well, getting the money, doing all the lovely things that they're doing, and there's people at the bottom, they're selling the same products, they've been told the same success process, but they're not getting the results. So it cannot be through the action alone. So it's got to come from something before action. Now, we as human beings, we take action with our body, but the body is a physical instrument of the mind. So we've then got to really start to think about, so the body takes action, and the body is just an instrument of the mind. So it's our thoughts that control what action our body take. So that's one part of it. The other part of it is, well, we're all created from energy, and every action that we take has an energy behind it. So you may be going into a sales presentation or trying to sell your network marketing business or even writing posts on Facebook. But if you're sitting behind your computer typing a blog thinking, well, sure, nobody's going to come to me anyway, you're actually putting out that energy behind the action. So it's going out into what we would call a frequency, and it can only attract that which is put out. So if you start to really think differently and change your thoughts into, let's just call it generically, a more positive thought, well then you're taking the same action, but it's from a different set point. You're doing it from a place of belief, you're doing it from a place of faith, you're doing it from a place of excitement, positivity, and that works in a different frequency. So we all operate on these frequency waves, whether you want to understand it or not, whether you've been taught it or not, and we're not. But that is how, this is the missing link that everyone is missing. So
you're talking crazy talk right now.
yeah.
For most people, right?
Most people, exactly.
Why is this not taught in school or taught into, I know that you have a very religious background.
Yeah.
Right? And like we would think that in an environment of like, religious, like there's some of that which is taught, but that's not the case.
No, it's not taught. And I mean, we could sit here and get into a whole load of different hypotheses of why. I essentially believe that it has been missed through generations. It has been in certain books and it has been removed from books, it's been removed from religions. And essentially, if we all started to really understand this material, the world would be a very different place. It would be a phenomenal place, but there'd be certain companies, there'd be certain governments that would actually lose a bit of control, and that's how our world is created. And do you know what? I don't really care.
You don't care, right?
No,
I
don't
go
care.
there.
I don't go there. I just want to think about me. I want to think about my family. I want to think about living a life that is of absolute purpose driven and is fulfilled. So for people that are in a position where they're miserable, they're unhappy, and they're broke, but they keep talking about it, they're essentially attracting more of that. So that's really what has to shift, the whole concept of how we think about the situation. And I'm not saying that crap doesn't happen, it does, but that situation or that problem that has manifested, well, it's manifested, and everything starts as a vibration and then becomes a thing. This iPhone that we're sitting using was first a thought, then it turned into an idea, then it turned into, a team of people started putting these ideas together, and then it came into the physical form. So you can look at the clouds moving in the sky, they're moving, and they're moving in a vibration. And that's how the whole world operates. The trees that lose their leaves in autumn time, that is a part of these laws, and that's the transmutation of perpetual energy. And again, we could go really deep there, but you don't even have to.
I'm scared everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is quantum physics. This is science. It has been proved over many, many, many years. So I always just say, you don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of the science. Just test it. Just try it, because what's the worst that could happen? You feel better. Well, I think that's definitely worth the investment in time.
So you think that idea of positive thinking, it works?
I don't think it, I know it.
You know it. So what would you say to someone which says, yeah, you know what? I mean, how, I think positive, but this and that happened to my family. So how does it relate to me or to, because you just said something there that you said you think about yourself. So you've got to be selfish in a way.
Yeah, you do. But it's not from a place of what we deem selfishness to be. Again, that is different people's perception of that word. I now know that because I decided to put me first, I've been able to help my family. I've been able to be the best version of me. I've been able to love more openly. I've been able to give more because I decided to put me first. It's like when you're on the airplane. The instructions are the adult puts the mask on first before the child, because I can't go out and help
if
people.
You passed out.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't give what you haven't got. So there is an element of you've got to focus on you first, but from a place of intention to serve others. It's not about a get. Now, certainly there's people out there that they're like that. That's certainly not my intention. So these laws operate for good and for bad, and it's again up to the person to decide. Now, to go back to your initial question of, is it just about positive thinking and stuff happens? Well, I spent 8.5 years as a mental health nurse, and I was told to do affirmations, and we were doing it with the young people, and I rolled my eyes and I went, I'm not doing that again, because I didn't have the understanding of the power of it. So again, it comes back to the missing education that we don't get in school about this. We are not taught how to make decisions. We're not taught how to think. We're not taught where our habits are formed, the self-image. These are absolutely critical foundations that change a person's reality from the inside out. And that is absolutely critical. Now, does bad things happen in my life? Occasionally, yeah. But one, I'm now able to take responsibility, and I'm usually quite aware of how I've attracted it to me. But I also now have the ability to maintain my own emotional guidance system so that I do not get totally sucked into something that has happened, because that's what happens. The bank balance goes low, a relationship breaks down, and we go down the drain with it. So of course, if we go down into a negative vibration, we're going to attract more of that. And that's the real key. So you've got to then learn the other parts of your mind that you've been gifted with to harness yourself, educate yourself on how to, okay, that has happened, but it's outside of me. I'm not going to let it inside. And I'm going to start to think differently because it's happened. And, it is what it is. And you've just got to decide how you want to move forward from that.
How much time are you spending a day into this study? Because you're talking about understanding.
Yeah.
So you need to understand what you're doing, and you need to understand all this. I mean, I can see that you've been spending a lot of time to make that part of you. So how much time are you spending a day into this?
It's a good question, and I would probably put that question right back to maybe people that are listening to this. How much time are people rumbling around in the negative thoughts, because I can guarantee you that is a much longer period of time. Now, I personally spend half an hour to an hour in the morning studying, reading, setting myself up for the day, but that is the most wonderful time. I wake up, I get my cup of coffee. You know, my time is my time. I'm not ruled by anybody else. I'm not ruled by a job, because I've decided that I will dictate my time. So when I spend that half hour or an hour, I'm setting myself up into a positive vibration that is going to see me through the rest of the day. Again, you could go into the science of this, but initially, and it's easily to explain it, your brain decides what type of a day you're going to have by your first kind of 2 hours of your day. So I'm going to start to program my mind rather than allow myself to be programmed by the outside circumstances.
Is that happening sometimes, that you starting your day and then you, I don't know, you hit your toe on the
Oh yeah.
on something and you're, oh shit, like
Yeah.
it's gonna be bad.
Of course, and you're frustrated, you're annoyed, and then you go into traffic, and then by the time you get into work, you know, you don't want to say hello to anybody, and then there may be problems in work, you're not able to troubleshoot, you're not able to come up with solutions, you're focused on the problem. And then of course that rolls into lunchtime, and we eat bad foods, then we go home, we feel sluggish, we feel tired, usually about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we grab biscuits. You know, there is such an evidence of how this is affecting people's lives, their health, their relationships. I mean, nobody goes home anymore and sits down really.
Have a meal together
Yeah.
and talk and you know, just focus on that meal and say, like, you know, how was your day?
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you do? Like how good like, you know, people interact with you.
Yeah,
like everybody's
absolutely.
like stuck into their phone and I don't know, looking at what other people's doing
Yeah.
and other people's social media, etc., etc.
Like, when's the last time you asked somebody, how was your day, and they didn't complain?
It's a very good question.
Yeah. Now, thankfully, again, the people that I decide to surround
yourself.
myself with will have a very positive reaction to that. But the day-to-day average person, you don't even want to ask people how they are, because you know you could be there for half an hour listening to a whole load of crap. And
Which actually happened to us like,
Yeah.
what, an hour ago?
yeah, so I call these people mood hoovers. Mood hoovers, yeah. And as soon as that starts, it just sucks the energy from you, and you'll feel it. And again, that's that energy that I've been talking about. We can feel the shift. It's like when somebody rings you and you just know, oh, I don't want to answer the phone. That's a mood hoover. And we're intuitive beings. We pick this up. It's like when you go to pick your nice restaurant to sit in, we walk along and we, you know, stick our head in and we go, nah, I'm not really feeling it. And then we go into another one and, yeah, we're going to have dinner here. Why? You don't really have a clear answer, but it just felt better. It fitted better vibrationally with you. And that then can be used for sales. It can be used for absolutely anything.
So this is what are you dictating all your life this way now?
Yes.
So you are listening, you are in tune with how your intuition works and how you feel.
Yeah.
And when you're feeling right, okay, that's the right decision, this is where I'm going, okay, I can sit with those people. If you're not feeling right, you just move.
I just decided to move, yeah. And don't get me wrong, in the first early days of learning this material, that was strange. It was paradoxical. It felt uncomfortable. It's like if people sit with their arms crossed like this, but then they decide to do it the other way, it feels uncomfortable. So we're habitual human beings by nature. And in the early days, when you start to take control of your own life, the paradigm or this conditioned way of thinking puts up a royal battle. It doesn't want you to change because it's lazy, and it's been ingrained pattern thinking, and that's become, you know, the easy route for our minds to go. And we live our life on this program. So for me, my life was not in a good place, and I was only 28 at the time. So I was not wanting another 60 odd years of feeling this way. So I decided to take control of it, and it was fun because, as I said earlier, you're having these thoughts regardless, and they're on autopilot. So you might as well just decide to enjoy the process.
Can you say with certainty that you're in control of your life now?
Yes, 100%. Now, does it mean that things always go right? No. Now, why is that? Because I just haven't mastered it yet. But I'm on this journey of a progressive realization of a worthy ideal, and it's a goal that is worthy of me. And will I get things wrong sometimes? Yes. But I get things right so much more than when I get them wrong. And I don't pretend that, if you start thinking like this, life is going to be perfect. It can't be, because you need contrast. You need the problems to happen to teach you a lesson, to push you again in the direction that you need to go. So we're always going to be course correcting. We're always going to go through challenges, but it's your perception of what they look like to you now that is the big change.
What would you say to someone that's listening to this right now and say, you know what, I would like to do like her?
Yeah.
Where do they have to start?
I think just keep it really simple in the early days. Decide that every single morning that you're going to waken up, you're going to start with gratitude. And gratitude is the ability to just be present in the now, and list 5 to 10 things in the here and the now that you can be grateful for. I don't even want you to think about a way in the future, but think about 5 things today that you're grateful for. And if you just do that consecutively, because again, in mental health, I had young people coming off antidepressants. I had young people who were diagnosed with diseases who just started to do gratitude, and they came off these tablets. That was so
Is that
profound.
as powerful as that?
Yeah.
That's the only thing?
It's not the only thing, but if for a starting thing, that is what I would start with. Absolutely. Then you want to start thinking about, well, where can I get more knowledge on this? And essentially, you got to decide, well, what kind of area do you want to go into? You find somebody that is doing well in that area, and you want to figure out what they're doing, what they're thinking, how they're acting, and essentially get a mentor. And there's lots of mentors, there's lots of people out there in the world. Some know and understand what we're talking about, some don't. So it's really about, researching and figuring out what type of line you want to go down. But reading some books, writing, scripting, just putting it on paper, that is the easiest first couple of steps that you could do.
And then they can get the success they want.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much to have done that.
No problem.
And let's hear from you later on and see where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Awesome. Thank
Cool.
you.
No worries.
Cheers. That's it.
I had no idea.